In the world of wrestling, few names carry as much weight as Hulk Hogan. A larger-than-life figure, Hogan was known for his charisma, strength, and that iconic real American spirit. But recently, unsettling footage of the wrestling legend has surfaced, shaking fans to their core. This isn't the powerful, energetic Hulk Hogan we grew up watching. It's a much more vulnerable and fragile man, struggling with the toll years in the ring and life have taken on him. The viral clips have sparked concern and heartbreak among fans, revealing a side of Hogan rarely seen before. As the wrestling community processes this shocking glimpse into his final days, many are left asking, what really happened to the hero they once cheered? A legend's final moments, conflicting reports and unanswered questions. On the morning of July 24, 2025, the world awoke to the shocking news that Hulk Hogan had died. Official reports stated that a 911 call was placed at around 10 a.m. from Hogan's sprawling mansion in Clearwater, Florida. The Clearwater Police Department confirmed that paramedics arrived to find the six-time WWE champion in a serious medical state. He was rushed to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead at approximately 11:17 a.m. On the surface, this sequence of events seemed straightforward, almost expected given Hogan's age. Sudden cardiac arrest was reported as the cause of death, and for most, that was enough explanation. After all, 71 is an age when the body often begins to falter in unexpected ways. But as hours turned into days, a puzzling silence emerged. There was no official coroner's report released to the public. No detailed explanation, no medical breakdown beyond the initial statement. The police maintained there was no suspicion of foul play, yet the absence of transparent information sparked widespread speculation. The shadow of illness. Was Hogan really in decline? The silence from official sources was quickly filled by conflicting stories from friends, family, and close associates. While Hogan's representatives and wife, Sky Daly, publicly denied any report suggesting Hogan was seriously ill in the weeks before his death, whispers to the contrary had been swirling for months. Notably, just 3 days before Hogan's passing, Todd Clem, better known as Bubba the Love Sponge, a Florida-based radio host and longtime friend of Hogan, shared chilling updates about Hogan's condition on his radio show. Clem revealed that Hogan was in a dire state, hospitalized and possibly on his deathbed. He described Hogan's struggle to speak, the damage to his trachea, and breathing difficulties that painted a stark contrast to the vigorous wrestling persona Hogan had cultivated for decades. For fans unfamiliar with the inner circle of Hogan's life, this revelation was staggering. Bubba the Love Sponge was no mere acquaintance. He was a trusted friend, so close that Hogan had been the best man at Clem's first wedding back in 2007. Their relationship went far beyond casual friendship, entwined with some of the most infamous moments of Hogan's career and personal life. A tangled web, the Bubba connection, and the Gawker lawsuit. To understand the depth of the relationship between Hogan and Bubba, we have to revisit one of the most scandalous episodes of Hogan's life. The 2012 Gawker lawsuit. Gawker Media had published a secretly recorded sex tape of Hogan with Heather Clem, Bubba's estranged wife at the time. The tape's release was a devastating blow to Hogan's carefully managed image and led to a highly publicized legal battle. Hogan sued Gawker for invasion of privacy and won a landmark $31 million settlement, a victory that effectively led to the media company's bankruptcy and shutdown. But the scandal didn't stop at the tape's release. Bubba was revealed to have secretly filmed the encounter and played a role in the leak. This complicated dynamic added layers of betrayal, friendship, and drama that blurred lines between personal loyalty and public spectacle. The fallout from the Gawker case was emblematic of Hogan's life, never straightforward, always shadowed by conflict. Contrasting narratives, the family's perspective. While Bubba painted a grim picture on his show, Hogan's wife Sky Daly and manager Jimmy Hart took a different stance. They both denied the radio host's claims, insisting Hogan was recovering well from a neck surgery performed in May 2025. According to Sky's statements, Hogan had undergone an anterior cervical discectomy infusion, ACDF, a complex procedure to relieve pinched nerves in the neck. The recovery was difficult, she explained, affecting not just Hogan's spine, but also his ability to breathe, swallow, and speak. Sky's candid updates on social media detailed the heavy toll of the surgery, emphasizing that healing was slow but ongoing. Jimmy Hart echoed her sentiments, dismissing rumors of coma or brain damage and asserting that Hogan was strong and alert. Yet, despite these reassurances, the rumors persisted, fueled by Bubba's ongoing reports that Hogan was on life support and the secrecy surrounding his hospital transfers. Hospital transfers and hidden truths. In the tense days leading up to Hulk Hogan's death, a swirl of rumors and conflicting accounts cast a shadow over the wrestling legend's final moments. Bubba the Love Sponge, a close friend who had been vocal about Hogan's condition for months, claimed that Hogan was secretly moved from the hospital to his home under a veil of secrecy. According to Bubba, the transfer was done late at night, using unmarked ambulances that entered through a discreet garage door, far from the usual hospital bustle and public eyes. This clandestine move only fueled speculation and deepened the mystery surrounding Hogan's health. Fans and observers alike wondered why such secrecy was necessary. Was Hogan's inner circle deliberately hiding the severity of his condition from the public? Was there something more troubling happening behind closed doors? These questions ignited a wave of concern and skepticism, leaving many wrestling fans uneasy. However, Hogan's management team pushed back against these rumors, calling them exaggerations and outright falsehoods. They insisted that Hogan's care and privacy were being handled with the utmost respect and that there was no conspiracy to hide the truth. When Hogan's death was finally announced, the official statement was warm but carefully vague. It confirmed that Hogan passed away peacefully, surrounded by loved ones, and asked the public to respect the family's privacy during this difficult time. The fallout, Bubba's final words and public reaction. After Hogan's passing, Bubba the Love Sponge did not stay silent. On his radio show, he boldly declared himself the only person who had been telling the truth about Hogan's deteriorating health. His frustration was palpable. Bubba openly criticized Hogan's inner circle, naming his wife Sky Daly, manager Jimmy Hart, wrestling executive Eric Bischoff, and others, as complicit in silencing him and dismissing his warnings. For someone who had been one of Hogan's closest friends for 15 years, Bubba's words carried significant weight. He painted a picture of secrecy and denial within Hogan's circle, suggesting that the real struggles Hogan faced were being hidden not only from the public, but from even some members of his own family. According to Bubba, this was not just a matter of privacy, but a troubling suppression of the truth. His candid revelations sparked shock and debate among fans and insiders. On one hand, people respected his loyalty and his willingness to speak out. On the other, they grappled with the painful reality that Hogan's final days might have been marked by isolation and conflicting loyalties. Bubba's raw emotions underscored the human cost behind the spectacle of a wrestling legend's passing. Wrestling industry scrutiny, allegations against Hogan's management. The drama surrounding Hogan's final days didn't end with personal relationships. Industry insiders began asking difficult questions about how Hogan's health and career had been managed in the months leading up to his death. Jimmy Vander Linden, founder of the professional wrestling news outlet Fightful, brought forward some troubling allegations. According to Vander Linden's sources, Hogan's management team had been pushing him relentlessly to maintain a grueling schedule, especially to promote his business ventures. Chief among these was Real American Beer, a brand Hogan co-founded and passionately championed in recent years. What started as a side project had become a significant part of Hogan's public identity, requiring frequent appearances at press events, commercials, and fan engagements. The sources claim that Hogan was being run into the ground, forced to show up and perform even as his health declined. This raised uncomfortable questions about the pressure placed on aging athletes and celebrities to keep their brands alive and profitable, often at the expense of their own well-being. Was Hogan's management prioritizing business over his health? Was the legend being pushed beyond his limits because of financial interests? These allegations resonated deeply with many wrestling fans who knew the toll the sport could take on its stars. Hogan had spent decades entertaining millions with his larger-than-life persona. Yet behind the scenes, it seemed the demands never let up, even in his twilight years. Hogan's own response. The company speaks out. In response to the mounting allegations, representatives of Real American Beer stepped forward to defend Hogan's legacy and character. They strongly rejected the narrative that Hogan was a victim of exploitation or overwork. Instead, they painted a picture of a man who was in complete control of his life and career, even as his health challenges grew. As co-founder of the company, Hogan was described as a visionary who built the brand from the ground up. The company's statement emphasized that Hogan's promotional efforts were driven by his passion and love for the fans, not financial desperation or pressure from others. He led by example, they said, showing up because he wanted to, not because he had to. This perspective adds another layer to Hogan's story, a portrait of a driven, determined man who refused to let his health or age define him. Even in his final year, Hogan remained committed to his vision, eager to stay connected with fans and keep his brand alive. For many, this was a testament to Hogan's resilience and dedication, traits that had defined his wrestling career and public life for decades. The true meaning of being a real American. For Hulk Hogan, the phrase "real American" was far more than just a catchy wrestling catchphrase or a gimmick designed to hype the crowd. It was a core part of his identity, something he lived and breathed both inside and outside the ring. To him, being a real American meant showing up with unwavering dedication, giving his absolute best, and most importantly, connecting deeply with every fan. Whether it was shaking hands, sharing a smile, or simply making each person feel recognized, Hogan made it his mission to build a genuine bond with his audience. The image many remember, Hogan standing tall, decked out in his iconic yellow and red gear, his bandana tied tight, saluting the roaring crowd, was not just a performance. It reflected a man who truly believed in loyalty, hard work, and gratitude. He wasn't just playing a character, he was embodying what he saw as the American spirit. But beneath this heroic facade, what if the story was more complicated? What if the larger-than-life persona masked a much more fragile reality? Imagine Hogan, the wrestling legend who inspired millions, privately struggling with a body worn down by decades of grueling physical demands. Despite his passion and determination to maintain the real American image, his health was quietly deteriorating. His physical limits stretched dangerously thin as he pushed through pain for the sake of his fans and business commitments. Corroborating allegations. More voices speak out. The troubling claims that Hogan was being pushed too hard in his final months didn't come from just one source or disgruntled insiders. Beyond the initial whistleblower, Jimmy Vander Linden, who shed light on the exploitative demands placed on Hogan, another voice quietly confirmed similar concerns. A spokesperson from Empire Agency, a respected talent management firm that represented Hogan, though not involved in his beer promotion deal, told multiple news outlets they believed Hogan was being pushed too far for his age. They added that while they also worried about his health, their hands were tied because of contractual obligations tied to the promoter and other business representatives managing Hogan's involvement with the beer company. This admission reveals a disturbing reality. Hogan's health was not just overlooked, it was knowingly sacrificed in the pursuit of profit. When multiple insiders from different parts of his professional circle raise the same alarm, it paints a grim picture. This wasn't a case of isolated incidents or simple misjudgments. Instead, it suggested a pattern, one where those closest to Hogan prioritized business interests and financial gain over the well-being of the man who had given so much to his fans and the industry. A pattern of concealment. The long game. What's even more unsettling is the suggestion that this pattern of hiding Hogan's health troubles may have been going on longer than anyone realized. Rewind to 2023. At that point, there wasn't widespread chatter about Hogan's health declining or any surgeries, but that didn't mean his condition was fine. Kurt Angle, a fellow WWE Hall of Famer and close friend, openly expressed his worries during an episode of his podcast. He described Hogan's health in stark terms. He lost feeling from the bottom of his body, so now he has to use a stick to walk. I thought he was using the cane because he had pain in his back. He doesn't have any pain. He has nothing at all. He can't feel anything. Such a revelation from a trusted insider like Angle shocked fans. Hogan himself never publicly denied these claims. Instead, his management once again stepped in with a standard response. Hogan's health was fine, and he was known for his humor and resilience. This defensive stance from his team only made the concealment seem more deliberate. Someone in Hogan's inner circle was determined to keep the truth hidden, an act that, while perhaps motivated by a desire to protect him or his legacy, ultimately left fans and loved ones in the dark. The key players, Sky Daly and Jimmy Hart. When it comes to understanding who might have had the power and motivation to shape the story about Hulk Hogan's health, the circle tightens quickly. Two names stand out: his third wife, Sky Daly, and his longtime manager, Jimmy Hart. Both held significant influence in Hogan's personal and professional life, making them central to any decisions about what information was shared or withheld from the public. Sky Daly entered Hogan's life quietly but swiftly. Unlike Hogan's previous relationships that were often under the media microscope, Sky's presence was introduced with a subtlety that caught many fans off guard. She's a yoga instructor, notably younger than Hogan by about 25 years, and her calm, grounded personality seemed to offer Hogan a peaceful contrast to the chaos of his wrestling and business worlds. The couple married in a private ceremony, so private that even Hogan's daughter Brooke didn't attend, highlighting the distance within the family at that point. Sky's role during Hogan's final years was crucial. As his wife, she was in a position to manage day-to-day affairs, health decisions, and what was communicated externally. After Hogan's death, Sky posted heartfelt messages on social media, emphasizing his strength and downplaying the severity of his health issues. Whether this was out of genuine hope, protective instinct, or a deliberate effort to shield his legacy, is something only those closest to them could truly know. But her involvement in controlling the narrative is undeniable. Sky Daly. The new chapter. Sky Daly entered Hogan's life quietly and relatively late, compared to the familiar faces many fans remember from his prime. For most, the name associated with Hogan's marriage was Linda Claridge, his wife of over 2 decades. Linda was a fixture alongside Hogan during his WWE heyday, ringside at matches, starring with him in reality TV shows, and raising their 2 children, Brooke and Nick. But their relationship unraveled in a very public way. In 2007, news broke of Hogan's affair with Christian Plant, a woman connected to his daughter Brooke's music career. The affair was a blow to the family. Linda filed for divorce that same year, citing betrayal. Hogan, meanwhile, denied the affair in his autobiography, claiming Linda had trust issues and misinterpreted his friendships. However, leaked videos later contradicted Hogan's denials, revealing the complexity and painful truths of their relationship. The divorce finalized with Hogan retaining about 30% of their liquid assets, roughly $10 million, a settlement that Hogan has said was one of the most difficult chapters in his life. He has even admitted to considering suicide during that tumultuous period. In a twist of fate, both Hogan and Linda quickly moved on with new relationships. Linda began dating Charlie Hill, a man nearly 3 decades younger, a relationship that drew media criticism and ended before marriage. Jimmy Hart, the loyal but complicated manager. On the other side of the equation stands Jimmy Hart, wrestling's mouth of the South, a man whose career spans decades as both a wrestling manager and a music composer. Hart has managed some of wrestling's biggest legends, the Honky Tonk Man, Bret Hart, Jerry Lawler, and of course Hogan himself. Jimmy Hart's legacy is that of a savvy businessman with a flair for showmanship. He's been deeply involved in wrestling promotions and still holds a Legends contract with WWE. Outside the ring, he had a musical career and occasional TV and movie appearances, reflecting a busy and multifaceted life. Hart's role in Hogan's life, especially toward the end, is critical. As Hogan's manager, he likely had considerable say in how Hogan's public appearances and business deals were handled, including the Real American Beer promotions. While not as dramatic as some family disputes, Hart's involvement is pivotal in understanding who controlled Hogan's narrative and business priorities. Family drama. The children's struggles. The story isn't complete without mentioning Hogan's two children, Brooke and Nick Balea, both of whom faced their own battles that limited their involvement during Hogan's later years. Brooke Balea, once a rising star in music and reality TV, and briefly a WWE wrestler, has spent much of the last decade away from the limelight, focusing on her family and healing from past trauma. Her estrangement from Hogan after the 2007 scandal with Christian Plant added distance between them. Nick Balea's story is more troubled. Despite attempts to carve out his own path in car racing, his life was marred by serious legal issues. In 2006, Nick was involved in a car crash that left his friend with brain damage, leading to felony reckless driving charges and jail time. Although he seemed to turn a new leaf afterward, his struggles resurfaced in 2023 with another arrest for driving under the influence and reckless endangerment. The personal difficulties of Hogan's children highlight a fractured family dynamic, one that undoubtedly complicated Hogan's final years and may have influenced the decision to keep certain truths private. Hogan's candidness. Facing the physical toll. Despite the efforts of his inner circle to shield the public, Hulk Hogan himself was not entirely closed off about his health struggles. In one of his last interviews with Logan Paul in 2024, Hogan opened up candidly about the physical toll wrestling had taken on him. "I've had like 25 surgeries in the last 10 years. 10 of them were back surgeries. Nobody told me this gimmick stuff was fake. I've had 10 back surgeries, both knees and both hips replaced, shoulders, everything," he shared, his voice heavy with the weight of years in the ring. Hogan spoke about needing good sleep to manage the pain and admitted to struggles with prescription painkillers, a result of years of steroid abuse and wrestling injuries. In a 2023 interview with Muscle and Health magazine, Hogan described his dependency on pain pills in frank terms. "I was hitting the pain pills hard because I'd had to endure 25 procedures, including tending to my back, facial operations from being kicked, knee and hip replacements, and abdominal and shoulder surgeries." This honesty revealed a vulnerable side of the wrestling icon rarely seen in public. A man who, beneath the bravado and iconic catchphrases, was grappling with chronic pain and addiction. Want daily knowledge drops? Subscribe now. Your brain will thank you later.